Hi, it's Dave. In this video, I'm going to be talking about one of the most important investing concepts that most people miss. It's something we're seeing with technology and markets in an increasing way, and it's called winner takes most. All right, as usual, with all of my videos, they are a stream of consciousness, and I share my thoughts real time and what I'm thinking about right now, and these thoughts will change and adapt over time. All right, so we're living in a crazy investing world where there is so much noise. Thousands and thousands of people shout and yell, buy this and sell that. And it's like randomly shooting in the dark trying to get a prize. It reminds me, back in college, I would sit at the steps of Sproul Hall at UC Berkeley, and I would watch thousands and thousands of people pass by during lunch hour. They were busy going to their classes, meeting people, and they were consumed in their thoughts. And I kept on asking, like, what does this all mean? What is going on in each of these persons' lives? And it became one of my actually favorite pastimes to people watch at Sproul Hall. It kind of reminds me of the stock market and financial news investing today, where people are just busy, consumed, doing something, and there's so much noise. And sometimes I think we need to take a step back and ask ourselves, what does this all mean? Now, I do think with more of these philosophical questions, we can get into some danger and we can get stuck without taking action. But I think with investing, it's important to ask, how can I have an edge? And also, why do some companies like 100x or 1000x in value while other companies, they barely get by? And is there a way that I could find to determine which companies might do that 100x or 1000x, at least more accurately than other people do? A lot of people think that it's not possible to increase your odds in picking a huge winner. They have a more traditional mindset where they think picking stocks doesn't work, or you can't beat the market, so why try? I actually do think there's some validity to this, in that stocks can be inherently risky and volatile, and you've got to know what you're doing, and you've got to assess risks accurately as possible. So I don't think actually stock picking is for everyone. But that said, I do think there are certain concepts and ideas that can help an individual gain skills that are needed to pick big winners. And I think it's actually an assortment of many different things like philosophies, values, skills, and habits. And a lot of these things is what I'm talking about on this channel. The question is like, why is that the vast majority of investors will miss out on the best and the most amazing investments? And this question kind of is something I've been dwelling upon recently. And I can go on for days and days with this, but today I kind of want to focus on one concept that I think might unlock some insight. And it's called winner takes most markets. Now, this idea has evolved radically over the years. I remember decades ago reading books about how the top brands can take majority market share and second place can be far behind, kind of like the Coke and the Pepsi example, right? Coke is the number one, taking majority of the market. However, the reasoning for this type of more traditional view of market leaders is that the branding and the trust is so important, meaning you have mind share and you advertise and you gain that trust, you gain brand loyalty. And with that brand loyalty, you're able to gain a bigger market share. Now, this is the old paradigm of the winner takes most or the winner takes all market idea. However, I think there's a new paradigm, and it has to do with technology and how technology is enabling a winner takes most markets in an unprecedented manner. Let's take a few well-known examples. You have e-commerce with Amazon, you have search with Google, you have social with Facebook, you have user-generated videos with YouTube, and the list can go on. And I think traditional thinking is that markets are huge and technology would enable many companies to carve out big market shares. But technology has fundamentally changed markets forever and in profound ways. Technology and the internet has created network effects. And what that means is when you add a person to the network, the value of the entire network grows, meaning the network becomes more valuable to every person on the network. A great example is eBay. So let's say I'm a vintage typewriter kind of fan and I'm looking to buy a vintage typewriter. Now, if one person posts a vintage typewriter right on eBay, or let's say on a no-name site, for example, it's kind of tough to find. Like there's not many people posting to a no-name website, and there's not many people looking for a no-name on a no-name website. However, if you have 1,000 people posting old vintage typewriters that they want to sell on a website, that adds value to every person who is looking for a vintage typewriter. Now that's network effects. It means that the value of the network is growing for every additional person who joins the network. And also this is bi-directional, meaning let's say you have 1,000 people posting old typewriters on eBay. This adds value to every person who is searching for an old typewriter. But also, all these people who are now coming to the site searching for old typewriters, that is adding value to the people who are trying to sell their typewriters. So this network effects, it pulls in both sellers and buyers. And this is the critical kind of aspect of network effects. Now, it's very difficult to disrupt a true network effect market. For example, with eBay, over the years, they've kind of slacked off. They have a kind of an old school website. They haven't done a lot of innovations. However, it's extremely difficult to beat eBay because where else do you go to buy a vintage typewriter? It's hard for competitors to even get off the ground. Another example is Craigslist. Craigslist is still going on after all of these days, even being so just old school in its technology. However, I do think Facebook Marketplace is starting to eat the lunch of Craigslist, in my opinion, and it's using its own network effects. And I think this is kind of the holy grail of modern day investing. It's to invest into a company early on that will use its network effects to become a dominant player in a huge market. Now, there are variable levels of network effects. You might have a weak network effect. For example, you gain customers, and the more customers you gain, you have more money to spend on advertising to gain new customers. But eventually you might hit a cap, or advertising can get more expensive, and you need a much, I think, stronger network effect than just that. Now, here's an example of a strong network effect. Take an example of Google search. Now, each search query makes the entire search experience better for everyone who is searching on Google. And the reason is when you type in a search query, let's say how to get rid of ants or something, what you're doing is you're teaching Google what people are searching for. And you're also, when you click, you're teaching Google what people are finding helpful, what articles are finding helpful. And those articles are being raised up in the search ranks, making Google a better search experience. So in other words, every person that's using Google is training and is improving the overall product experience of the product. Now that is strong network effects. Let's take an example with autonomy or autonomous driving. Autonomous driving also, I think, has strong network effects because you need data to train your neural networks. For example, in the case of Tesla, Tesla sends out requests for images so that it can train its neural nets. And the requests that they send out is to there are hundreds of thousands of vehicles that are on the road, processing images on the fly to try to get the right images that Tesla needs to continue to improve the neural networks. Autonomy gets better. They're able to sell more cars because the features are better. They're able to get more data because they have more cars. And this is kind of a virtuous flywheel. And in effect, it's a very strong network effect. In other words, every person who joins the Tesla network by buying a car is actually adding value to every other person on the Tesla network because the autonomy is getting better. All right, so with network effects, there's also a geographical versus global kind of element to network effects. For example, with Uber, they have network effects largely in a city or a local region. For example, if you go to a new city, let's say you're going to Detroit and you're getting a car, you can get a car maybe relatively fast and cheap in that city, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you using, let's say, the network in Detroit is going to improve the network in Tampa, Florida. It's not completely related. However, it might be related in some ways in the sense that the more customers that use Uber, right, in various cities, it's perhaps easier to sign up drivers overall. They have better brand recognition. They can lower costs, and users will travel to other cities and use the same app, etc. So there are some global effects, let's say, with the Uber network. However, the main network effects for Uber, in my opinion, are mostly local, meaning the more people are using Uber in that city, the better the service becomes. And I believe that those type of network effects are not as strong as having a global network effect. That's why when you take a look at ride-sharing networks, they're rather fragmented by region. You have big players in various regions of the world, and they're different. And this shows that the network effects in ride-sharing aren't really global in nature, or they're not strong enough, globally, but they're more on a local basis. So how does all this help an individual investor find big winners? So I think there's a huge flywheel for companies that become dominant globally via network effects. Their products get better, they can add value, they gain more customers. It's cheaper and more effective to do marketing and distribution. They have scale and economies of scale, and they're able to offer a stronger value proposition. Take an example of Amazon. The more vendors they have and more customers they have, they're able to offer better logistics, faster and cheaper shipping, more selection, etc. And they make it a better overall experience. It makes it very difficult for others to compete with Amazon and e-commerce. All right, so my personal interest in all this is to try to find these big winners early on, to try to catch the companies that are in markets with true global network effects and who are in markets that are truly big and growing over time and who are poised to become the dominant player in that market. All right, if this video has been helpful, please like it and subscribe to my channel to hear more videos like this. I'm talking about investment topics in the world through different angles, trying to get beneath the surface of things, into the essence of things. All of my videos are available as a podcast. Just search for Dave Lee on investing in your favorite podcast player. And I'm also active on Twitter, and my handle there is HeyDave7. We'll see you in my next video. Thanks.